Welcome to Set 3 of English Expressions, Idioms, and More. This is part 1 of idioms that include clothing words. We will discuss the following idioms: ace up one sleeve, at the drop of a hat, blue collar and white collar, dressed to the nines, dressed to kill, flying by the seat of one's pants. Let's get started.
I still had an ace up my sleeve.
You always have an ace up your sleeve.
An ace up my sleeve. What else? You wait till I show.
Keep it together, Titans. I've got an ace up my sleeve.
Unless you've got something up your sleeve.
You see, I always have an ace somewhere up my sleeve.
Nothing up my sleeve.
Well, I'm sure he's got something up his sleeve.
Imagine you're playing cards, and you're holding a really good card up your sleeve that nobody else knows about. Well, that's basically what ace up one sleeve means, having a secret advantage or trick that you keep hidden until you need it. It's like having a backup plan or a sneaky trick that you can pull out when you're in a tight spot. You keep it tucked away until just the right moment, and then bam, you surprise everyone with it. Now, where does this phrase come from? Well, back when playing cards was the most common, fun activity, usually for money, some sneaky players would literally hide an ace card up their sleeves. When the time was right, they'd slide it out and use it to win the game. So, let's say you're at work and you've been working on a big project. You've got a brilliant idea that you've been keeping to yourself until the meeting. When everyone else is stumped, you reveal the ace up your sleeve, your brilliant idea, and save the day. Or maybe you're playing basketball and your team is behind in the last few seconds of the game. You pull out your ace, a killer three-point shot that you've been saving, and score the winning basket. That's having an ace up your sleeve in action.
We have an ace up our sleeve. And the ace up our sleeve.
Yeah, Captain, I got an ace up my sleeve.
I've got something up my sleeves.
With an ace I have up my sleeve, and what an ace.
The drop of a hat. Play literally.
Contest at the drop of a hat.
The drop of a hat, like a grin.
But I'm out of the habit of driving out to the boonies at the drop of a hat.
Can become dads at the drop of a hat.
Why? Don't go running off at the drop of a hat.
Are you at the drop of a hat?
Drop of a hat, and I hate the way I look.
Picture this. You're hanging out with your friends, and someone suggests going to get ice cream. Without hesitating, you jump up and say, "I'm in." That's pretty much what at the drop of a hat means, doing something immediately or without any delay. Now, where does this phrase come from? Well, back in the day when people wanted to start a race or some other event, they'd signal it by dropping a hat. And as soon as that hat hit the ground, bam, off they'd go, no waiting around. So, let's say you're at a concert and your favorite band announces they're doing a surprise encore. You'd be ready to scream and cheer at the drop of a hat because you're so pumped, right? Or maybe your friend calls you and says that she has an extra ticket to a movie premiere tonight. You'd be down to go at the drop of a hat because who wants to miss out on that kind of fun? Basically, at the drop of a hat means you're totally ready and eager to do something as soon as the opportunity presents itself. No questions asked.
Drop of a hat, I'm there.
A world tour with you at the drop of a hat.
They make love at the drop of a hat.
I'm not saying you say I love you at the drop of a hat.
Oh, the elves exaggerate. They get excited at the drop of a hat.
At the drop of a hat? Who does that?
Drop of a hat, she's as really as.
She would do it in the drop of a hat.
I can thank my blue-collar DNA.
White-collar, college grad.
Non-violent, white-collar, so-called victimless crime.
Intended a white-collar crime, but a senator died.
Then it's a white-collar criminal.
But a nice one.
Collar, white collar, loaded with cash. Into a white collar, minimum security resort.
When talking about jobs, white collar and blue collar are two ways to describe different types of work. White collar jobs are usually the ones where you're working in an office, maybe wearing a fancy suit or shirt and tie. Think about bankers, lawyers, etc. The term comes from the idea that these folks typically wear, you guessed it, white-collared shirts to work. It's all about the office vibe where your brain gets more of a workout than your muscles. On the flip side, blue-collar jobs are more hands-on. We're talking about stuff like construction work, plumbing, or factory jobs. These are the jobs where you might get a little dirty, maybe wear a hard hat or some overalls. The term blue collar actually comes from the durable blue shirts traditionally worn by manual laborers. So, let's say your friend Sarah works as a lawyer in a big law firm. Her job would be considered white collar because she spends her days in an office building dealing with legal stuff. But then you got your buddy Mike, who works as a mechanic fixing cars all day. His job is definitely blue collar because he's out there getting his hands dirty and fixing things up. Basically, white collar and blue collar are just ways to describe the kind of work people do, whether it's more office-based and professional or hands-on and labor-intensive.
Just dressed to the nines in choking hazard.
You dress to the nines with your best buds.
Thank God I died dressed to the nines.
More like dressed to the nines.
Dresses to the nines for every occasion.
Though she's dressed up to the nines.
Let's say you've got a big event coming up, maybe a fancy dinner or a wedding. You want to look your absolute best, right? Well, when you're dressed to the nines, you're dressed to impress, top-notch, like you stepped right out of a fashion magazine. You also might hear this as dressed up to the nines. It's the same thing. Now, where did this phrase come from? Well, there are a few different theories, but one idea is that it goes way back to the 18th century, where tailors would use 9 yards of fabric to make a really fancy suit. So, if you were wearing one of those suits, you were literally dressed to the nines. But honestly, it's just a catchy way of saying that you look amazing. You put in the effort, you're looking sharp from head to toe. Imagine you're going to your best friend's wedding. You've got a nice suit on or stunning dress, your hair's done just right, and you feel like $1,000,000. That's being dressed to the nines right there. Or maybe you've got a big job interview coming up. You show up in your crispest shirt, your snazziest shoes, and you're totally owning it. Yep, you're definitely dressed to the nines.
And dressed to kill.
You said you'd be ready and dressed to kill.
Yeah, aren't you dressed to kill?
Sybil meets, I don't know, dressed to kill.
Dressing to kill?
Dressed to kill, walking tall.
That's what I call being dressed to kill, right?
So, you're about to go out, and you don't only look good, you look like a total knockout. That's being dressed to kill. It's like taking your outfit game to the next level, but with a hint of danger or allure. Now, where does this phrase come from? Well, it's all about that dramatic flair. Back in the day, especially in old detective novels or movies, when someone was dressed to kill, it meant they were dressed so sharply and stylishly that they could stop people in their tracks. It's all about that confidence and swagger. For example, imagine you're going to a fancy party. You show up in this killer suit or stunning dress that makes heads turn. You're not just dressed to impress, you're dressed to kill. People can't help but notice how good you look. Or let's say you're going on a date with someone special. You put on your slickest outfit, maybe a little black dress or a sharp suit, and you look amazing. That's being dressed to kill right there. It's all about making a statement and leaving a lasting impression. When you're dressed to kill, you're not just blending in, you're standing out in the best possible way. So really, what is the difference between dressed to the nines and dressed to kill? Well, they both mean to dress exceptionally well, but they have slightly different connotations and origins. Dressed to the nines means you're dressed in your fanciest, most stylish attire. It's about being impeccably dressed and looking your absolute best. On the other hand, dressed to kill carries a bit more of a dramatic flair. It implies that you're not just dressed well, but you're dressed in a way that's captivating, attention-grabbing, and maybe even a little seductive. The phrase suggests a sense of confidence and allure, as if you're ready to make a bold impression wherever you go. So, in summary, dressed to the nines means dressed impeccably or perfectly. Dressed to kill means dressed in a striking or captivating manner, often with a hint of danger or allure. Both phrases describe being well dressed, but dressed to kill adds a bit of drama and intensity to the equation, while dressed to the nines focuses more on elegance and perfection.
I would say I was a kind of fly by the seat of my pants.
Well, you know, Marty, he likes to fly by the seat of his vintage pants. Huh?
I mean, we are flying by the seat of our pants.
The fly by the seat of your pants plan guaranteed to get you killed?
He's a wild card, flies by the seat of his pants.
He's penniless, he's flying by the seat of his pants.
Sometimes we have to fly by the seat of our pants out here, so it's...
Let's say that you're flying a plane, but you don't really have a plan or a clue of what you're doing. You're just relying on your instincts and sheer luck to keep things going smoothly. That's pretty much what flying by the seat of one's pants means. It's all about doing something without a clear plan or preparation, just winging it and hoping for the best. The phrase comes from the early days of aviation, when pilots didn't have all the fancy instruments and technology we have now. Instead, they relied on how the plane felt to them, including the vibrations that fell through the seat of their pants, to figure out what to do. So when someone says you're flying by the seat of your pants, they're basically saying they're making it up as they go along. They might be improvising or relying on their instincts rather than following a set plan. For example, imagine you're giving a presentation, but you didn't have time to prepare. You're just going to go up there and wing it, speaking off the cuff and hoping you don't embarrass yourself too much. Thank you for watching this episode of English Expressions, Idioms, and More, all about clothing. This is part 1 of 3, so look for the other 2 very soon. I hope that you enjoyed this, and please comment below and subscribe and like. Thank you.